Hello to anybody watching. I was hoping to be filming this in a sunny field, but unfortunately, as it is England, it's absolutely pouring down, so I thought it would make more sense to quickly do an intro in the car. So I've decided to start filming a series of young horse videos, just kind of documenting my own experience. I'm by no means an expert or a professional. This is the first young horse I've ever owned, first young horse I've ever backed. But I just thought if it even helps a few people, then it'd be worthwhile. When I first got Weasley, who I will introduce in a moment, I looked to YouTube for a lot of help, as well as obviously a lot of other sources. I found loads of really great channels, but they were from people who are like really experienced in backing. And it would have been nice to see someone's real-time experience of like the first time backing a horse, because everyone's got to start somewhere. So yeah, I hope this is quite helpful to some people, and even if not, you can just enjoy watching me attempt to back and produce a 3-year-old for the first time. So I'm currently hiding from the rain in the horse's shelter. I hope you can actually hear what I'm saying. So this is Weasley behind me, trying to eat my ponytail. I bought him as a 2-year-old, and he is now 3. Literally the day he turned 3, or just a week before, I think I started all the groundwork and everything. He has now been backed successfully, good boy, I'm pleased to say. But he's now on a very big break. He's still very gangly, and so I just thought physically it wasn't the right time to carry on riding him. Mentally, he is so bored since he's been put on holiday, and I think he would actually rather be in work. He was starting to really enjoy his hacking, so I don't think it'll be long before we sort of start back again. But yes, so this is him. I would feel a bit mean not introducing my other 2 beautiful horses. So this is Summer. She is now retired, bless her, so now a lady of leisure, which she is very happy about. I know, darling, good boy. And then we just have one more as well. This is Margot. She is from World Horse Welfare, so she's just on lifetime loan. Hello, darling, why are you not in the shelter? Huh? Why are you not in the shelter? I'm getting soaked out here. Yeah, so the 2 girls are retired, so it's just Weasley who does all the work, and I think he's quite happy about it, actually. Are you happy about it or not? What do you think? You're just hiding from the weather, aren't you? So I thought I'd do like a brief bit of info about Weasley for anyone who is interested. So I was actually looking for a kind of ready done, all-rounder, something to go out and compete type of horse. I was also, as I think most people are, looking for something that was a bit flashy, and would look great in the arena. My whole life I've had native ponies, which I absolutely love, but I did kind of want to kind of explore the world of a warm blood. However, I soon, immediately realised that any horse that I was looking for, especially warm bloods, were completely out of my budget. So the only option really was to go down the young horse route. I had done so much groundwork and like little bits of like liberty training with my old pony, who was a Welsh Section D. So I was keen to sort of, have a youngster, but not to back. I just wanted to kind of do the startings of schooling and stuff. But anyway, as it ended up, I was sharing a horse in the meantime to just school and hack. And on the yard which I was sharing the horse, there's a breeding stallion. And one of his lovely babies, who was Weasley, came up for sale, and I just fell in love with him, and he's just absolutely adorable, and I've loved him ever since. He's been a pleasure to back. He was just such a sweet horse to back, and he just has the nicest temperament. So yeah, I think, to be honest, I did put a lot of hard work in, but I think I got quite lucky as well. So the first video I have, are you enjoying that? I have recorded is everything I did with Weasley, like up until the moment I got on his back. Breaking it down into stages, I hope it's helpful for some people. It took me, I would say, from the minute I started, like the first day I took him in the arena to do groundwork, until getting on his back, I think, I don't know exactly, but 2.5 months. I had absolutely no intention or need to like rush through it. It was my first time. He's really young and still, I haven't really got a good shot of him yet, but you'll see in the next video, he's still really gangly. So yeah, I wasn't in a rush at all. And I feel like it paid off not being in a rush, because he is so so chilled out with everything, nothing phases him. He's such an angel to hack, and I genuinely feel like he enjoys being ridden. Like his little ears prick up, he's excited to leave the yard. Hello. So I do feel like it benefited us to take a long time. I know other people watching this probably think that that is a crazy amount of time to take to back a horse, but it worked for us, so that's all that matters really. So the first thing I do with any horse when starting groundwork is to desensitize them to the whip, as it's something I'm going to be using a lot and I don't want them to fear it or think that it's going to hurt them. You can see here that he is standing really well. If your horse is quite sprightly and on their toes, I recommend just leading them around the arena doing figures of eights and serpentines before you start any sort of desensitization work. So here when I'm asking Weasley to back up, I'm starting with like a more obvious aid, like really shaking the rope at him. He was particularly sleepy this day, so it was a bit more of a challenge, but usually, and the idea is that you just start walking towards them and that they should back up straight away. Throughout most of this session I did have to use the rope quite a bit to shake at him, but yeah, like I said, the goal is to just have them backing up straight off of you walking into them. Good boy. So this next exercise is yielding the hindquarters. I would say this is the most important tool you can have in your possession with a young horse or any horse. Again, like the backing up, you should eventually just lean your head in and just look at their hindquarters slightly, and they should yield them. Here you can see that Weasley is being quite lethargic, but usually, again, like with the backup, I'd only have to peek at his hindquarters and he'll yield them in, and then this comes in so handy when you want to change direction on the lunge. Good boy, did it straight away. And again. So before you start with the bridle, you always want to do like head pressure off of the halter, so I'll show you. So here, you just want to add a bit of pressure, and the minute he gives, you give back, but then obviously you ask for a bit more each time. Good boy. Good boy. And a bit more. Release. Good. So we're just going to show that even the slightest head movement, we give the rein back to him straight away. So, good boy. Good boy. Good boy. And we'll go the other way. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. That was perfect. So here I'm preparing to put him on the circle. If your horse is doing this for the first time, it can be a little bit confusing. You want to point with the hand that's holding the rope, and then in your other hand either swing the end of the rope or hold your stick and just keep this in the air, just as a clear aid that you want the horse to move away from you rather than stay close to you as they have been doing before. And then where before we did the looking at his hindquarters to get him to turn in, that's where this now comes in handy, because you can change his direction on the circle. So if I look now, he'll come in. Good boy, Weasley. And then we'll switch him onto the other rein. Good boy, will come. Come. Good boy. So here it's just worth quickly explaining that when you've got them on the circle, you always want to stay just behind their shoulder. You'll notice throughout this video that I actually fall short of doing this quite a few times, but always keep in your mind that you're driving them forward, you're not pulling them forward. This isn't really proper lunging, but we'll just call it lunging. When you're first starting out lunging with them, they don't know what any of your voice aids mean, so you kind of want to put the voice aid in. If you think they're about to walk, then say walk, and if you think they're about to go into trot, maybe whatever voice aid you want for that. So, like, I don't know what I do, roll my tongue. Some people would like say trot, some people put like a high tone on their voice, but yeah, just pick the moment you think they're going to do it when you're starting to teach them, and then obviously eventually don't let them transition until you've actually asked them to. So we'll go again. Weasley. Good boy. Stirrup. So essentially what I was trying to explain in the last clip is you only want to put your horse in a position where they can give you the correct answer in the beginning, because it just makes the learning process a lot nicer. So as you just saw then, he fell into walk. I hadn't asked him for walk, but I could see he was about to give it to me anyway, so I added in the voice aid. So to him, he gave me the correct answer and didn't do anything wrong. And when you're first starting out teaching, it's so important to make it a positive experience for them.
Because of his age, like he's only 3, I personally don't want to canter yet because I don't think he's strong enough to canter on a circle this small. So we're only going through walk and trot transitions at this age. Good boy, that's a bit happier.
So I've kept some of this footage in basically because I just wanted to go through kind of giving aids whilst they're on the lunge. Not only do you want to just use your voice in the beginning, but you have to use your body language. When you want them to trot, you also need to pick your body language up. And when you want them to walk, you need to look. The only way I can describe it is like look lazy. So as you can see here, I'm kind of just quite quiet in my body language. He's just walking along. And then when I've asked for the trot, I've just kind of put a jump in my step. At the beginning, this was extremely exaggerated and I would literally run along with him. But obviously now his aids are a bit clearer. I just have to do a little jump. But yeah, so you want to combine a body language aid with a voice aid. And eventually, obviously, you just wind it back and you only need to use body language, only need to use voice. And whichever one you do use, you only have to use it in a very subtle way, and the horse will pick up on it straight away.
And then I always just keep doing transitions, so I feel like they get really bored if you just keep walking or trotting around, so just constantly changing pace and direction. Good boy, and change the direction. Stirrup, stirrup. Good boy. And not that I'm amazing at it, but making sure that when you're asking them to go forward, you're not blocking them with a tight lunge line or lead rope. Have it loose, let them actually go forward, don't have it taut like this. And so once you've kind of got to a stage where all your groundwork exercises that I've just gone through are quite solid and you're feeling quite confident in the relationship, before I moved on to anything like tack, bridle, riding or even hacking, I did all the desensitization work, so tarpaulin, cones, anything you can find in the arena, poles, bicycles, loud noises. The only thing I've actually got with me that I can show is flags, but this one is really good, especially when you are going like draping them over their back, because obviously it gets them used to what will eventually be the saddle pad. And also if you're out hacking and you come across anything flapping in the wind, he hasn't bothered at all about it, and I think that is because we did all of this at the start. So don't start with a ginormous massive flag and like basically terrify the hell out of them. Start with something really tiny, like this Italian flag, and keep it all wrapped up so that at first it's not that scary. So you just want to rub them like you would with the whip, rub them all over. And just keep aware, like obviously he's done this before, but if they're going to be jumping around, like have enough sort of rope that you can allow them to leap forward if that's what they want to do. It's not about keeping them frozen to the spot, it's about them getting used to it at their own pace. Good boy. Good boy. So he has done all this before, so I'm going to speed it up, but obviously you would do both sides of the body, but he's done this, so nothing's going to really be different. So once you've rubbed them all over, and you can see like he's lost interest, you obviously unravel, so you've got something a bit more interesting for them to look at. And again, you can see he has done all this because he doesn't care, obviously. So yeah, obviously you just want to float this everywhere over him, if they're really scared and they're not obviously stood here like him, you are best to let them walk around whilst you're doing this. So, go on, Weasley. Good boy. He's more interested in going to bed. And one way I started it was just walk around and let them follow the object. So it's less threatening because it's moving away from them and they're chasing it rather than it chasing them. And obviously always keeping in mind where you are, because at any minute they could leap forward or kick out or anything like that, but I'm quite used to him now. So once you've mastered the smaller flag, you can move on to something a bit bigger. I obviously, again, he has seen this, but you would again start with it rolled up, rub them everywhere, and then move on to unrolling it. When I first showed him this, didn't unroll the whole thing. I did sort of halfway first, and then moved on to the big, but the process is the same. So obviously unravel it, because it is a lot bigger. Always start off with walking, as you can see, he doesn't really care, and let him or her follow the object. Good boy. Don't eat it. No. And as you can see, it's definitely not scared of the flag. Good boy. Okay. And again, you would do this on both reins, but for speed we'll just do it on one. And then I just started with a bit of like movement like this, which is obviously a lot more alarming to them. Again, I know he's not reacting, so it's not that accurate, but when I first did this, he didn't react either, so this wasn't really something that ever bothered him. Good boy. But when I first did this exercise, we hadn't backed him yet. He'd never seen the saddle cloth or anything, so when I lay it over his back, he was alarmed, so I'll show you now. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. When you're doing this, sort of, you can see there he was a little bit spooked. As soon as he stands and looks relaxed, take the object away and then pop it back. So he knows that his reward for relaxing is that the spooky object goes. So eventually the idea is that if you're out hacking and they see something that has alarmed them, they know that the correct response is to relax, and then that thing will ideally go away. Good boy. Go away. Okay. We'll do it on the other side. So with the saddle cloth and the roller, the first time we did this, I actually did it on the yard. Ooh. Anyway, we did this on the yard after a grooming session, but same principle applies like with the flag. Obviously he's worn a saddle cloth now nearly hundreds of times, but you just let him follow both objects that are going to upset him potentially. So. Right, then, again like we did with the flag, make the object as small as possible to start with. So then unfold and sort of let him have a sniff. So the first time I did the roller, he didn't actually react, but I did the same thing. So I started by like shaking it, making a fuss of it, letting the sort of buckles jingle. The reaction we've got here was his first reaction to it. So yeah, never had to go through a big fuss with this. And I did make a point when we were starting this to really throw it over and not be too polite about it, because obviously you want them to get used to you doing things with purpose and not quietly. So when you've got your roller on, I would just hand walk them first. So you can see he's not reacting here. This is a point where it's very normal for a lot of horses to want to like buck and just basically get it off, because I think it's that sensation of something around their belly that's tight. But he didn't react the first time we lunged with the roller, or ever since. He did with the saddle, but that was a different story that we'll get to. But yeah, so if your horse does want to buck and bronc, let them, obviously in a controlled environment like an arena. Good boy. Right, so when I first tacked Weasley up and put the saddle on, it was again on the yard. We just did it after a grooming session, and the first twice I put his saddle on, I chose not to bring him into the arena, not to put him on the lunge. I just wanted him to be settled with the saddle on his back just at stand, which was good, which he did do. So we'll just do that now, but obviously he's worn the saddle many times now, but the same as when you put the roller on, put the saddle on from every direction, make a point of it going on, don't quietly place it, also don't shove it, but don't, be a mouse around them basically. Good boy. Also, I would say to make sure they have a good first experience, try and get a saddle. Obviously you can't really have a proper saddle fitting session because they're not broken, but try and get something that fits remotely well and is been flocked recently, because you don't want their first impression of a saddle to be, ow, that really hurts. Good boy. Even just things that you take for granted, like checking the girth, they might find quite alarming, so just always have one eye on the body language and one eye on what you're doing. Obviously his body language is, I'm absolutely fine. Okay, so the first time you bring them into the arena with a saddle on, I highly recommend that you wear gloves. I'm obviously not wearing gloves, I hate wearing gloves, but I did get rope burn and learn the hard way. So you want to just do exactly the same as you'd always do when you come into arena. So start with your groundwork exercises, back, 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 good boy, and coming forward. Because all this is very familiar to them, so already they're getting in a relaxed headspace instead of everything being unfamiliar. Also, you want them to yield the quarters. Good boy. And this way. Come on. Good boy. Back, back. So once you've done a little bit of groundwork, then get them out on the lunge. I went in with full intention of just having him in walk, keeping it relaxed. He decided to go straight into a bronching session, and that's totally okay. You just need to try and hold on with all your might.
Try and be behind his shoulder, Bex, yeah? And hold on. Get behind him, send him forward. That's it. Keep talking to him.
Boy. Shall I go the other way?
Yeah.
If you're not getting a reaction, that's great. Go straight for some changes of direction. So don't keep them on the same circle for too long. Boys, where I cut because I'm awful at this. Boy. And when you feel like you're ready and that they're relaxed in the walk after the trot, so once you've lunged with the no stirrups or stirrups up, obviously you would then, I personally would leave it at that. Once they're walking and trotting relaxed with the saddle, leave that on a good note, but he's done this before, so we'll speed through. We're now going to put the stirrups down. This bit for him was probably his most difficult part of backing. He really didn't like stirrups, flapping next to his side. It actually took, I'd say, like a good week to get him okay with it. Yeah, your horse might not react, he did, so try and make a point when you're stood with them in sort of a relaxed manner of like yanking on the stirrups, letting them flap, obviously sort of gently tapping them with them on each side. Good boy. And if don't move straight on. If they're really stressed about you doing this, then maybe that day you want to make your exercise literally just pulling on the stirrups and flapping with them whilst you're stood here until they're relaxed about it. There's no need to like rush through it, and you shouldn't rush to the next stage until they are totally relaxed. So So always just start, if they've been quite alarmed by even you just putting the stirrups down, always just start and walk. The stirrups aren't going to move as much in walk, so it's a lot more relaxing for them. When you feel that they're relaxing, walk. Okay, Weasley. And when I say relax, I mean you should always have one ear pointing in at you, listening, and the general expression of the face, like the eyes should be relaxed, the neck should be not tight and upright here, and then also their muzzle should look nice and relaxed as well. Again, not showing any signs of stress. We move him onto trot.
So you can see here that Weasley's a little bit spooked by the stirrups being down, which is totally fine. He's not been ridden in 3 weeks or had a saddle on his back, so this was sort of to be expected, as it was always a bit of a sore spot for him. So here I'm just sort of taking him through his paces, which will obviously help to take his mind off of the flapping the stirrups, and you'll see as the video progresses that he begins to sort of just settle back into his work, and remember that the stirrups are not anything to be bothered by. I thought this would also be a good opportunity to mention, as I haven't already in this video, that during the entire process of backing and producing your young horse, the most important thing you can be for them is calm. They don't need you becoming an emotional wreck. You're there to teach them, to guide them, and to be that calm, relaxing presence that they need.
So if you see, he just lowered his head there. That was a very good sign of relaxation from him, and he's licking and chewing now, so that's a really good point to end on, because he's sort of found a quiet spot and he's feeling relaxed. You never ever want to end on a tense note, even if it means you have to strip everything back you've done that day and go to something that they know. Always end on a really relaxed note.
So thank you to everyone who watched. Sorry, he was just stealing the camera. Probably noticed that in these intros and outros he is a lot fluffier and dirtier than he was in the actual video that I took of all the work we went through. I did this video about 2 weeks ago, and I filmed the intros and outros now on this very rainy day. It's amazing like how quickly he lost his summer coat, and he now looks like a little feral mountain and moorland pony rather than a warm blood. But there you go. Thank you very much for watching. I will be doing another video on actually backing him, like as in getting on his back. I'll again like show the footage of what it was like in real time and what it's like now, and just talking through it all. I'm also going to do a few videos on like hacking out for the first time. I actually wasn't able to find any real like guidance or how-tos on like the first hack with a baby, so I thought it'd be really helpful to do one like that. I'm also going to do like lots of others, like long lining, groundwork that you can do whilst they're on a break. Thank you for watching this video, and hopefully I've captured your attention enough to keep you along for the next one. We've also got an Instagram that is like daily updates of what we're up to, as well as the other 2 horses, although they're not really up to much because they're retired. I still do the odd makeover with them, so yeah, if you're interested in anything like that, please join us for the next video. You enjoying that, Weezy?